What we're going to be covering today, a couple different points. I'm going to walk you through the loyalty history of DSW. It's been an important part of our brand and our business for quite some time. And then we'll jump into the ask and needs, what the business came to us to do and how we were going to move their loyalty program forward. From there, I'll turn it over to Cam, my lead engineer, who will talk us through the choice on how we landed on Google Cloud, as well as our implementation. So what our life cycle was getting into the cloud, what it's doing for us, and how we're, him and his development team, how they're able to deliver on a day-to-day basis. And then at the end, I'll come back in and follow up with what it looks like today, how we're implemented, how we're moving forward, and kind of what's next for us as DSW and designer brands. So the history of loyalty. Again, DSW has been around for quite some time, originally just a brick and mortar retailer like most others. And the Loyalty program actually started back then. So in late 90s, they actually launched the first loyalty program. It was called Reward Your Styles. It was actually sourced and supported outside of DSW. In 2004, we brought that in-house. And then quickly thereafter, in 2006, we actually launched DSW Rewards. DSW Rewards, as you can see from the timeline there, while it launched in 2006, really didn't have much change or impact to it until we launched VIP just this past September. We did implement over the course of time there the experience on our .com profile. We did implement that in 2009. But when we did that, that was a customer's choice. So we still had people that could have a .com presence, but not be part of our loyalty. And it added that confusion to what they were ultimately doing. You had people that thought they were in loyalty, people that didn't think they were in loyalty. So in 2013, when we rebranded and re-platformed our .com profile, we enrolled everyone into the profile. So when you go to dsw.com, or if you give us an email in your store, you're instantly into our loyalty program now to unify that across the board. Won't spend too much time on the last part because that's the big meat of how we got into VIP. The key thing to talk about, though, from this solution that they had, even once we brought it in-house from the original program, was there was no dedicated team to support it. So if they needed data in, they'd call somebody, whoever they knew in our integrations team. If they needed something modeled, they'd go with our BI team to change the internal data model for them. So they just kind of got in queue. They had no priority, no emphasis on things. So they would get creative. They would start doing their own workarounds, doing things and come in the IT later and say, hey, you have to do this because we've already told our customers we're doing this, which would obviously create a lot of stir and prioritization changes on the IT side. We'd have data fixes that just got redundant in a vacuum that we then live through as we're trying to implement and move from an on-prem database to a cloud database. All those fixes had to become reality and new life in our world. So what are the ask and needs for the new loyalty program? So we did, while this is DSW's program, we honestly view this as our customers' program. So we went out and we surveyed. We asked the customers, what are they looking for? What do you want to do? What does DSW mean to you? And what are you looking for in our loyalty program? So there's kind of some key things that came out of that that really rope up into these 4 points. Real-time everything. So we lived in a batch-based world where transactions came in on a nightly sales screen. They were processed through. And we would notify, hey, maybe you earned a reward or maybe you earned a new tier, but you don't get that reward till 7 days later. We've already lost that engagement. We've lost that opportunity to reconnect with that customer. So we want to make sure we can give them their points, give them their tiers, communicate, not just via email. We want to implement and get more into SMS and app push notifications. Make sure that customer recognizes you've transacted with us, re-engage with us, move this forward, keep DSW in the front of their mind. Flexibility. So the customers wanted more ways to interact with us. We were a points-based based on sales transactions. We wanted to be able to, give us your data, give us interaction, given this point in the store, donate shoes, other things they wanted to do outside of just a sales-based interactive program. And from a marketing standpoint, they wanted the flexibility to be able to move quickly. In their old world, they would take up to 2 to 3 weeks to set up a new promotion, and it was an XML-based. You had to wait on batches overnight, where now we can react in 2 to 3 hours. We can have a new promotion set up and moving for them. A simplified program. Before, points were 10 points per $1, or 20 or 25 or 30 based on where you were at, what the promotions were on. So people would walk out of the store not knowing, did I even get the right amount of points? What happened? Call to the call center, extra touch points, and just confusion to what they ultimately were trying to do. And then ultimately, as we looked at all those points, we needed more data to know about our customers. We want to make it more personalized, more engaging, more opportunities to make that experience their very own. So that kind of came in on the back end, along with IT's need to align to marketing's needs. So as I mentioned previously, there wasn't a team to support that. Cam and I helped make up that team now. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But we recognize that as a need. If we're really going to jump into this and deliver what the business really needs, we need to then, in turn, give them a team that they can come to and ultimately drive them in line with their visions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Cam, and he'll kind of talk us through our new loyalty and how we got there.
Cool. So my name's Cam Heightland. I'm the tech lead for our marketing applications team. A little bit about myself. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. Engaged, getting married in June. Having a huge wedding that, you can tell I'm really excited about it. And then pretty much my kid, it's my dog, Romeo. He's either really happy or just really sassy all the time, which is pretty much me throughout the project. So I was really engaged, really happy at the beginning. And then halfway through, I'm probably snapping at everybody. And then at the end, I'm really happy again. The big thing here is I do understand that I have 2 pictures of my dog and 1 picture of my fiance. That was just kind of put the point of the project was a little tough. If I did the same pictures of my fiance, it probably wouldn't work out very well when I got home. But yeah, let's get into this a little bit. From a history perspective, we had 2 databases that sat on-prem. So we had 1 analytics database, we had 1 real-time database. So for the real-time database, we had SOAP-based interactions that were, become pretty inflexible as you're moving forward. And we were just continually building on tech debt, essentially. So every team had just their own operations. So we were stuck with 90 operations that pretty much did the same thing over and over again, which becomes a challenge. But these just really did get your customer information, update your customer information, get your points. Pretty simplistic stuff that we knew we couldn't use moving forward. The other pieces of this is just that operations is kind of a nightmare. If we want to integrate with third parties, that's going to be a couple months because we have to do, from a security perspective, we're just mostly going off of firewall rules, things like that take 2 to 3 months with our existing infrastructure. So not something we wanted to build upon. The second piece of this is that we just had XML files going down every night, or every month, or every week, sorry. Every week that would change to about every day to do points, give rewards, give tiers. We've kind of lost the customer engagement at that point. Also, a lot of operations, just a lot of pinprick things that we have to deal with that we just didn't want to deal with moving forward. The last piece of this is we had an analytics database. People would just run huge queries trying to do models. It would tear it down. Break it in the middle of the night. People have to wake up just to challenge, We have to scale. We had to move towards that, so we're starting to do that. So we had 3 options here. One option is we could just keep building it on-prem, with the things we wanted to do. That clearly wasn't what we could do. We could buy it off the shelf, but then at some point, other customers are using this, other companies are using this, so we're not really different than them. So we decided to move to the cloud. We decided to partner with Slalom. And they were huge in helping us really change our mindset and architecture and just helping us build this, moving forward. So the challenge ahead of us is that we didn't have a lot of cloud experience. Very in our infancy. We had a couple applications out there, but nothing huge like loyalty was going to be. But also, like Rich talked about, there was no central person or team that owned this. So it was all tribal knowledge, be going meeting to meeting, finding out something different. But at some point, we landed on a couple things, and we just had to move forward and go. So we did that, but then we got to requirements like the worst requirement that you can ever deal with, which is all current features and functionality must be implemented in the new system. That's just kind of like you open up a box and everything's shaken up and you have no idea what's going on. But we were pretty eager. I'm a millennial, so I just kind of jump in and think I'm going to live forever. So, we just kind of jumped into it, got excited. But we wanted to build a community, not necessarily just a loyalty platform. We wanted to build a community. And this is what we wanted to build it on. So we wanted to be API first. We wanted to enable anything that's in loyalty to be outside facing, that we can interact with our customers, not just our regular customers, but also third parties, anyone who wants to connect to our platform. The second piece of this is be developer centric. So no manual deploys. You don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to deal with things. We're going to reheal ourselves. And also we're just going to enable a lot of automation and even third party integrations. The biggest piece of moving to the cloud, like everyone will talk about, just the flexibility, scalability, stability. And that's the biggest thing was just, application analytics for us. We can't have our real-time databases, real-time applications getting impacted by models. So we got to break that apart and figure out how we're going to scale. Then the last thing, just real-time analytics. So the big thing that we dealt with is that, we wanted to stream data all the time in the old system, but we have an on-premise server that has a bunch of licenses. We don't want to buy more licenses. So we're only going to take the data that we can take. And that's going to hinder our analytics as we're moving forward because we're not getting everything. We're just getting pieces of it. So how should we build loyalty, right? That's the biggest piece. We need to build the platform first and keep moving forward. We need to modernize that as well. So what we did is we jumped in Kubernetes. I mean, just like everyone's talking about, we use Spring Boot Java services, whether that was synchronous or asynchronous communication, so API or event-driven. We're going to do that to essentially enable our platform so it can scale to the traffic and the customers that we're going to have. So we ended up creating 7 to 9 microservices. If you want to talk about technical details, I'm going to stay pretty high level here so we can talk after or hit up the dory. But we needed to make sure that we could scale moving forward. We have a pretty small team, especially starting off. And so dealing with a bunch of operations, that's just not going to work for us. But yeah, 7 to 10 microservices, a couple that really handle most of our APIs, just because of just how loyalty is working right now. But then the rest were really event-driven. It could scale up, scale down pretty easily. The biggest thing, and you will hear every retailer talk about, is you have a bunch of servers for like 2 months of the year. Because that's when all the customers are coming to you. That's when everyone's coming to you kind of saying, hey, we need this right now. We need to shop. We need to buy everything last minute. That's kind of what happens. But you've got servers sitting there for the rest of the year. And they have licenses. You got to pay for all that, keep the lights on for it. So we want to make sure we're using what we can use and using it when we need it, when customers are coming to us, when third parties are coming to us, things like that. So, all right, cool. We got a loyalty platform. It can scale. It can interact pretty easily, but how do we secure our APIs, right? Everyone talks about security. You need to have it, but we needed to enable that pretty easily. So we moved to Apogee, and I've used Apogee previously, so this is a pretty simple decision. Using this as our gateway enabled a lot of the easy security features for us. Also enabled a lot of third-party integration, so being able to spin up a developer portal pretty easily, putting YAMLs out there, allowing people to just see it, interact with it, ask for an API key, ask for auth, easy to interact with, good for us as we're moving forward and we're building this developer community. And the biggest piece that we really didn't know about that really helped us moving forward is the payload transformation. I'll talk about this a little later when it talks about implementation, but we have a decent amount of legacy systems, and we couldn't change any of those legacy systems. So that was a huge pain as we got into things. But we got around it, made things work, and Apogee was huge in that. So all right, how are we going to enable analytics? Honestly, really simple decision. I'll show you our pattern after this. Move to BigQuery. We can easily scale everything. There's hardly any operations. Data storage is cheap. And we're able to query petabytes of data in 30 seconds. If we optimize it, maybe 15 seconds. As we're moving forward and create whatever models we want to for our analytics team. Yeah, and it's a pretty easy decision. Like, I blank out on it because it's just the easiest decision I made. And how do we get information into the system and out of the system? This is the last piece. We've got our APIs, an API enablement. We've got our loyalty platform. We have all our data warehouse. So cool, we've got everything. But how do we stream? How do we get data in? And this is pretty common for us. Again, Slalom huge with this. Pretty simple process. Drop a file into a bucket. Cloud functions, kick off a data flow job, and then spin up a serverless architecture. Boom, right to Cloud SQL, right to BigQuery. Pretty simple decisions. We continue to do this as we're also interacting with our APIs. So streaming-based jobs enable us to really anything we add to our Cloud SQL database or any new API we add, we can just kind of update our objects common. It'll pick it up as we redeploy the job, and boom, we can stream everything to any of our tables. And then the last piece was how do we enable developers? We could have easily built loyalty and just said, here's loyalty, but we're going to hurt ourselves moving forward. So we needed to enable developers because there were so many times that we were waiting on resources for 2 to 3 weeks. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just like, you got to get servers, or you got to get licenses, or you got to get whatever. So the biggest thing with going to the cloud is that you can kind of get rid of all that and not have to deal with any of it. So the biggest piece we use is infrastructure as code, which should be Terraform. So Terraform allowed us to just do pull requests and have uniform environments, uniform naming standards. Everyone can see everything. But we can build out whatever we need at the time at which we need it. So as we're moving forward, we can get new pub subs, we can get a new database, we can get whatever we need in a fraction of an hour versus a week. So great for us. Then the last piece is just the CI/CD. We're still working on this a little bit, but this is a pretty simple one of just using Bitbucket, storing all our code. And every time something goes to Bitbucket, Jenkins kicks off, pushes a build out there. We're good to go. Readiness checks blue-green, so we don't have to deal with anything in the middle of the day. We can deploy at any point in time and not have to worry about doing this overnight. And pretty simple, pretty easy stuff to do with Jenkins. So this is where it gets tricky. So we had everything that we wanted to have. We were really excited about it. And then, a couple months down the road, we've reloaded the database about 30 times, changed the schema about 60 times. And we're all pretty frustrated and just have to deal with how implementation goes. I wouldn't say it's, learning the new cloud platform, it's, there's a little bit of a challenge, there's a little bit of mindset change. But the biggest thing is moving all your existing challenges and problems and getting rid of those and moving to the cloud. You can easily, if you want to spit up a machine, put your stuff on a machine, that's pretty easy. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to, set ourselves up for the future and keep moving there. So we get into implementation. We're going into every meeting, and that requirement of, everything existing has to stay the same just kills us every single time. We're coming in, have a new feature about every other meeting, and we're probably 6 months down the road at this point, and we're dealing with all these hidden requirements. So whether it's tech debt with logic built in APIs, logic built in stored procedures that those APIs are calling, just the network latency, and it's not the cloud's latency, it was our latency that we didn't want to admit to at times. But that was a big challenge, and the other challenge is that we just weren't really set up. You're never going to be ready when you're moving straight to the cloud. You just kind of got to do it. You're going to have the challenges. There's going to be pain points, but just do it. It's going to be worth it in the future, but you're going to have to deal with it. And then just the last one is integrating with legacy applications. Whether it was JSON to XML, people are looking for these certain fields. There's a bunch of transformations in the APIs that aren't real in the database. We dealt with it all. We dealt with those problems, and really the biggest problem was just data. We didn't necessarily know what our data was, and that's just because of the tech debt we built up over years. So we get through it all. We're starting to get some steam, and we get about 3 weeks out. I'm like, man, we just totally forgot about this piece. We didn't have any dashboards set up. We weren't sure what we needed from an alert standpoint. But luckily, this is my one pitch to Google. It's Stack Driver was awesome. It easily integrates with everything else you're going to do. So whether it's latency, APIs with Google endpoints, alerts, dashboards, you name it, it's got it. It was awesome for us, really easy to set up, and we could just have everything overnight, and we still use it today. Pretty awesome. Also, just with error reporting, huge for us for bug visibility. We could figure out, who made this call at this time, what operation died at that point, and what was the issue. So, we get to the last 3 weeks, and we've been up probably. I know I did some 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. shifts. So it was kind of tough at that point. But luckily, everything actually went pretty flawlessly. We had a bunch of not a bunch, but we had a couple of scares. Going into the night to go live. Probably the best story is the one day we actually were about to go live, and we had to call it off because our points were messed up. And then Kevin and team brought us a cake that day for go live. That felt great. But that was one of the funny stories. I think a couple days later we actually did go live, but yeah. You can look back and laugh at it back then now, but yeah, it was tough. It was tough during the point in time. But yeah, we went live, and honestly, we were so close to Black Friday. It was a little bit of a concern for sure. But honestly, we had a lot of peace of mind moving to the cloud. With everything we had, we were killing all of our performance numbers without actually optimizing everything. Mm-hmm. So we hit a ton of numbers that we wouldn't have hit in previous programs. Yep. Things that would go down during peak times were easily scaling up, and we had no problems at all. Black Friday time, we hit numbers that we've never hit before, mm-hmm. Which were huge for us and awesome. But, what I'll say is that with going to the cloud, Google's been great partners, Slalom, awesome partners. But moving to the cloud itself, it's just peace of mind at some point. For us, with a team that's pretty small and have to deal with the operations, have to deal with everything, I'd come from on-prem world where I'd be up in the middle of the night. I don't have to worry anymore at this point. I know things are going to scale up. I know things are going to re-heal themselves. And everything's a lot easier as we've been moving forward. And especially even building new features, everything's a lot easier because I don't have to worry about my resources. I don't have to worry about what I need to develop the tools and move our program forward. So here's what we did. This is what we started with. We weren't 100% sure. We were like, this is really a lot of the tools that we thought we needed. But we did need these tools moving forward. And this is what we ended with. The biggest piece of this is, we're continuing to add new features every day. I've seen Data Fusion, Cloud Run, which looks awesome for us. But things are getting a lot easier, and we're able to get these really quickly. If we would have went with a third party, essentially just someone we bought off the shelf, or if we would have bought it on-prem, there's no way we would have made it at a year's time to actually deploy this thing. There were so many changes that we had to do, not because of bad architecture, but it was what we knew at the time. But we were able to change easily throughout time and continually change as we're moving forward on the platform. So I'm going to give this to Rich now. If you have any questions, feel free to catch me after. Feel free to ask the Dory. And thank you.
Thanks, Cam. So yeah, we're going to kind of talk you through where we're at today. Obviously, enabling this platform for all of our marketing partners, our analytics partners, to really drive this forward. So just some quick stats on where we're at since we've launched. Again, this was September 25th, a day that will forever be stuck in my mind. Some quick numbers that we've done. One that we're very proud of is that top one up there in the corner, rated #1 most innovative loyalty program by Shopify. Something that obviously we pat ourselves on the back about, but realize now that we've launched this and we're out there, we have to keep that going. We've reached the top very quickly. We appreciate that. A lot of things went into that. And now, obviously we want to stay there. Cam mentioned this. We went close to holiday. So think about it. That's 2 months prior to Black Friday. This past Black Friday, we hit some of the highest sales numbers on an hourly basis that DSW's ever seen. And that number speaks for itself. Absolutely zero issues on our platform. We were going through holiday readiness plans and like, who's going to be on site? Who's going to do this? And we're like, we're going to go ahead and support this from remote. We'll sleep in. If you call us, need us. Zero phone calls. Another thing, as we moved into the cloud, and again, we went from an environment that didn't move very quickly, we've done, since go live, over 900 enhancements and bug fixes to our platform. That kind of goes with a big pat on the back from our friends at Slalom, helping us move to that agile platform, as well as what the cloud has given us from a deliverability standpoint to continuously improve and move upon what's out there. Another big one was, again, trying to stay in contact with our customers. To do mobile pushes from the app notifications based on previous system limitations, we had to break our audience into 8 different groups and slowly send it out, make sure it's sent, make sure we didn't kill the network. Through performance testing, as we led up through the holidays, we got that down to one big group of people. And they's like, all right, we're going to send it. And we brought up Stackdriver, monitoring the logs. Okay, there was the blip, and we're done. And it wasn't even, you had to zoom in and find the blip. Like, did it really hit? Did you guys actually do this? We're fine? 100% fine. Ongoing opportunities. So obviously we're out there, we're live, moving through it. As Cam mentioned, I mentioned, we have a very small team. So it's the continuous growth of our engineers. We have only a couple on our team individually. We have a strong contractor base, and again, partnered with Slalom has been ongoing. But we just need to continue growing them. We're new to the cloud, we understand it, but this platform and our partnership with Google has allowed us to continuously grow and understand that the sky's the limit from where we want to go internally as a team. Kim hit on this as well, our DevOps. So we had DevOps as a DSW organization for the on-prem platforms that we had, but now we're talking cloud DevOps. That means something different to them. When they're asking, okay, how are your backups going to be handled? How, when are your patching going to handle? What are your schedule for that? We're like, I don't know, let's call Google, let's find out. Like, we didn't have to worry about that. We had our guys focusing on what was important, and that was delivering those 900 plus fixes ongoing day after day. By the way, if you do the math, that's like 5 per day business days that we've deployed since then. So pretty staggering numbers, but it's getting that DevOps side up to speed because we know we're going to continue to develop on and on and on, and we need to make sure that backend is handled. Incidents are properly addressed, data things are there, so I can keep the people like Cam developing the front end things that are important to us. And alongside of that's just the education. So obviously, we've been living and breathing Google Cloud for over a year now, working very close with Kevin and team, getting out there. But groups like our audit team, our security team, our database admins, how can help we perform this? What can we do for that? Like, again, we don't need you to do that, but here's how you help us. Here's how you can help us move forward to keep DSW moving in the right direction. Team challenges. So we were very proud. We built this real-time application that performs, it scales, it does everything we need it to do, but we still live in a batch-based world. So every night we still have to take snapshots, get it down to our on-prem database. We still have to get that data down to third parties. We're still working through those legacy systems and legacy applications to make sure they're whole. But it makes it difficult. And they're like, okay, we sent the data down to EDW last night. Can you run a query to validate that? Yes, I can. I can go to BigQuery. I can use all my data dates. But our application is built to know what are you doing in the moment for that real-time snapshot. Project tech debt. So timeline compromises. Things led to, we just can't get this done in the timeline we need to. There were some analytics things they needed or some data things they needed. We're like, well, we'll get to that. But we had a deadline we needed to meet. But via the Agile process, using Jira, using the process we have, we know we can just recover from that, and we're not going to build ourselves a 12-year tech debt that we absorbed as we took on this project. And that kind of leads into the last one. So our backlog is out there. We know what it is. We have to work through. But now we've enabled a process for our marketing partners to realize that they can get stuff as quickly as they can almost ask for it. So we went live in September. Just here in the next couple of weeks, we have another pretty big release coming out. We already have another one scheduled for the fall as well. So as I'm looking through that, trying to make sure that we are making sure we prioritize to dig through our backlog, make sure our tech debt doesn't get up there, as well as we're making sure that we can support the business for their ongoing opportunities. As I mentioned to start with, we really didn't have a marketing team or an IT team to support our marketing partners. So as this came along, again, my team was stood up, and I brought on people like Cam and other folks to give our DSW marketing partners not just one team to deal with, the Designer Brands marketing IT team, but obviously we have a great partnership with the Google Cloud, and our partners at Slalom as well help us really build from what was a very disjointed process to a collaborative group that continue moving this forward. Slalom came in, again, day one of our project, really helped us build out that architecture that Cam walked you through. But it wasn't a, go live's done, we're out. They're still there. They're still helping us build our strategy, making sure that as we're looking for what we have done and what we're doing forward, we're not putting ourselves into a hole. And they've been a great partnership. It's been, even though they're based out of Atlanta, we're based out of Columbus, we didn't even see that as a problem. The interaction and communication, we never caught them off guard, and they never caught us off guard. And then growth. So as Kevin mentioned to start with, when we launched this and started going into it, we were DSW Inc. Since then, we just recently rebranded ourselves, and as a parent company, we're Designer Brands Inc. What that really means is we as a IT shared services support all of these brands now. So DSW VIP is live for the US. We have DSW Canada, so we're in the process of moving them over to the cloud and using our same loyalty platform for our Canadian-based stores. Shoeco and Shoe Warehouse have a loyalty program also based in Canada that we're in the process, again, rewriting that, moving it to the cloud. They quickly saw the benefits that we had and implemented for our US-based stores and asked not, can we have it, it's, can I get it tomorrow? They understand what kind of value we're driving to keep their program moving. We also have the Commuto Group and our affiliated business groups that typically they come in, hey, can you do this? Can you guys handle this? Cam and I are sitting there going, essentially bring it on. Give me more people to help do it because we need it to happen, but the cloud has given us a platform that we don't have to say no to anymore. The analytics team, we can enable them. The data is theirs. They're not asking us to remodel anything. Here's BigQuery, you go after it. If you need more stuff, we'll get it to you, but we can get it to you quick. And Cam kind of hit on this as well, and this is kind of like our thing that we have realized as we've gone through the whole process is there was no shortcuts to getting to the cloud. We wanted to make sure we did it right. But since we've gone live, we've recognized fully that it's 100% worth it. Like no looking back, no questions. Did we do the right thing? Did we not do the right thing? It's been since literally the first time we started streaming data into it. We're like, okay, that data was bad. We have to redo it. It was quick to fix it, quick to move forward, and just recognize the benefits of the data stores, the opportunities, the data flows that we've used. Our friends at Slalom can vest for it, how many times we asked them to pivot and change. But the cloud gave us that capabilities. The infrastructure scales, everything there helped us out. And again, that growth slide that we just talked to limits where we're going and what we're going to do for Designer Brands as a whole.